Welcome back, guys, to this series, Chess 101, where I teach you guys the very basics of chess. In our last video, we talked about the principles of opening, the opening principles in chess. And today's video, we're going to talk about what not to do in the opening. So if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, please click down below the subscribe button and be a member, subscribe to the channel for more videos like that. And please leave a like, comment, all that stuff. Now let's go straight to the video and talk about the do's and don'ts of the opening. In this video, we're going to talk about actually the don'ts. So in the previous video, we talked about what you should do in the opening, which is control the center, develop your minor pieces, and castle the king to safety. So these are the things you should do in the opening. But now let's talk about the things you should avoid doing in the opening stage of the game. So the first thing I'm going to say is, if you contradict any of those principles that we learned in our previous video, you are actually doing something that you shouldn't be doing in the opening. So we know that we have to control the center. So the first moves should be e4 or d4. Of course, you can play other moves. They are playable too, but you should study those lines. But e4 and d4 are by far the best moves to play in the opening. So if you play a move like, for example, a3 or h3, this is not controlling the center and it's not developing any pieces. It's not helping you to accelerate your castle. So these are bad moves in the opening overall. So you shouldn't be playing those moves. And other moves like, for example, I don't know, playing this, that's not really nice. You're not controlling any central squares. You're not developing any pieces. Overall, this is a bad opening move. So this is something you should not do. So if you're not controlling the center, that's something you should avoid doing. So let's say you play e4 because you're principled and your opponent plays e5 because he's also or she's also principled. And then you play a move, let's say, I don't know, you play your knight out, your opponent plays some other move that is very typical too, which is the other knight out. Let's say you go for, I don't know, you develop this bishop right here. Then your opponent develops, I don't know, maybe the knight here, and then you go for this move. Let's say something silly like this. And you are attacking here this pawn, and it's like a threat, but it's not really strong. When you do this, you are moving this knight twice in the opening. This is something you should avoid doing, because when you move the same piece 2 times in a row, twice in a row, or 2 times in the opening stage, you are actually not moving another piece. You are, just basically passing a move, right? So you are moving one piece again where you could actually be developing one of the other pieces or castling or controlling the center You could be doing something more active, but instead you're just moving another piece again, and that's not really good. Okay, so what you should be doing is avoid moving the same piece twice. Okay, so this is something you should be doing. Going back to the starting position, another thing that some people do is pushing too many pawns. So sometimes you play moves like this and people keep pushing pawns like, I don't know, there are some moves for that. Some people like to go for some gambits like the Danish gambit or center game or some other openings. But if you keep pushing too many pawns, this is, for example, a bad move because you're blocking your bishop and you're not developing a piece here. You're just pushing pawns. And if your opponent goes ahead and let's say they are principled and they develop some pieces and you keep pushing pawns, some silly moves, they're going to be developing pieces and you're pushing pawns, whatever. I'm playing some random moves here. These are definitely not good moves. You moved 4 pawns here. You made like 4 pawn moves and your opponent has already developed 2 pieces and they can play something like this or like this and they can castle next move. So their army is already set and ready to attack and you just moved pawns, you just pushed pawns and your pieces are all in the starting position and they already have 2 pieces developed. And considering that they are playing black, which is 1 tempo down, this is pretty good for black. So you shouldn't be pushing pawns and pushing the same piece many times. We have to focus on developing pieces. Okay, so you should avoid pushing too many pawns all the time, and you should avoid moving the same piece twice. You should move the same piece just once, only if it's absolutely necessary. Okay. Another thing that you should be avoiding is to move the queen out too early. So let's say you play like the queen's, the center game. This is actually an opening that I like a lot, so I'm gonna be a little counterintuitive here because I recommend this opening a lot. But if you're a beginner playing an opening like this, we traded a pawn here and we just brought our queen out, and the queen is in a central square, which is pretty good to have a queen in a central square, but not at the start of the game, because remember, the queen is the most valuable piece we have besides the king. It's the most valuable piece we have, so it's very easy for black to attack it with a lower value piece like the knight. So the knight is now attacking the queen, and the queen is worth 9 points of material. The knight is worth just 3. So we cannot just let them capture it. We have to move the queen again, and by doing this, we are moving the same piece twice. And then they can keep developing their pieces. Now they have 2 pieces out, and we just have a pawn and a queen. And now we can go ahead and play something like this. They can go ahead and play something like this. We can play something like this. They can castle. You see, we can go ahead and castle too. But overall, this opening is known to be not really good, especially at higher levels, because we brought the queen out too early. They developed with tempo, attacking our queen, forcing us to move the queen again and lose the opportunity of developing another piece. Maybe we could be developing another piece, and instead we are just moving the queen up and down all the time to just avoid losing it. So overall, bringing the queen out too early is not really good. That's why some openings are not really recommended. For example, this opening is very famous, the Scandinavian. It's an opening that I also recommend a lot. So I'm gonna be a little controversial here in this video. I think this opening is really good actually, but if you know how to play it, okay? So queen out too early, same thing. We can go ahead and attack it. So they're gonna be forced to move it again. So maybe they move it here. So this is difficult to attack now. That's why the Scandinavian is pretty good for lower levels. But if you know what you're doing, you can go ahead and have a good game here. Some players will go for this or this, and white's gonna be developing pieces, whereas black has this queen that is a little displaced or misplaced, I would say. That's the best word for that, right? It's a little misplaced, and all the pieces are yet in their first starting square. So this is not pretty good for black. So these things are things you should avoid doing in the opening. Pushing way too many pawns, not controlling the center, not developing pieces, and bringing your queen out too early. All these things are mortal sins. If you make those mistakes, you're probably going to pay the price. So if you're a beginner, try to keep following the principles, and don't break the principles until you fully understand them. So try to go for more classical openings. And that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I would really like to have your like. If you like the video, please leave a like and a comment down below if you have something to say about the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel for more, and as always, I see you guys in the next one.